Alright, well, getting the tape on the back here is around this prism is always awkward, to say the least. Excuse me. It's be getting near the end of the year. It's just something from Amazon being delivered here. Not for me. Alright, that'll do across the back. I've got to trim some of this away yet because I don't want it where it currently is. It will foul the shuttercocking rack. But that will hold the prism in position while I get the other tape on. And I've pre-cut these pieces of tape because otherwise you go crazy. Just snip it at the corners so I can get it to lay flat. And one piece across the front. That'll do. Let's put my little clamping piece back in place. Of course, the tape is now obscuring the screw holes. That's that. Now I'll trim off the excess tape. It's easier if this is upside down so you can see exactly where you're going. You have to be cautious not to get your big sticky fingers on that focus screen, otherwise you won't like it. A little bit here. That'll probably do. Now I need more tape than I've got pre-cut because I've got to cover over these little notches where the retainer clips sit. don't want that coming up to the top because otherwise it'll affect the effective screen to lens distance. Let's get that off there. It's very important not to get any of this sticky tape on this surface, of course. Otherwise, you'll end up with a problem. One more piece. And the hope is that, having done all this, I haven't introduced any specks of dust, which I'll then have to remove. Alright, well, the screen is clean. This can go down into position. Just wriggle that down, punch through the holes where the big fixing screws are going to go. Get those two in place. When the second one's in place, I can do them up tight. But as usual, not before everything's in place, otherwise you'll never get all the screws fitted. Right, that's in. That's in, that's tight. At the rear of the prism we have a little mask that goes on there. This is my last chance to clean that surface. I'll just check that I haven't managed to fingerprint it in the struggle of getting everything back in place. That looks pretty good actually. Here's the mask. In the mask there are two screws through the mask. A larger one which holds the mask to the camera body, and a smaller one which holds the mask to the viewfinder assembly, that box piece with the screen in it. Because of the potential problems that you might introduce when dealing with one of these finders, it is not usually worth the effort of opening it up just to deal with some very minor complaint, like a few specks of dust or a minor amount of mildew speckling or something of that nature, or just to have a look because there's a dark patch and you don't know what it is. There's every likelihood you're not going to be able to fix it, and by delving inside, your chances of making the situation much worse are very high. So discretion is the better part of valour when it comes to farting around with prism finders. that's all good. Really the top of the camera can be closed now. So where is my top cover and how much extra cleaning do I need to do to it? Well, here's the top cover. I'll need to clean the finder window, refit the meter window and get rid of that sandy stuff that's still sitting loose down at the end there. Right, well, I'll get onto that. The meter window, the meter dial window, I'll just give that a light wipe on the outside, just using a bit of glass cleaner. Don't rub at that plastic any more than you have to because it scratches, and it scratches very easily. So clean it if it needs to be cleaned, and if it's just old and it's not really going to clean, don't do it. Okay, that's good. The finder window, the eyepiece. Generally speaking, the dirt is on the outside mostly. Not always, but usually it's the case that the dirt is on the outside because that's the accessible piece that people can stick their dirty fingers on. Sometimes it'll be that the dirt's on the inside. And you can usually only judge that well once you've got the outside clean. Yeah, well, that cotton bud's quite dirty there, so there was certainly some muck on the inside. It's quite common for the finder to be a little bit patchy looking on the surface, like there's marks in the coating, well, they were probably never coated. That looks like coating on that glass is most likely just a little bit of oxidization of the glass. It'll act like coating, but don't expect it to be uniform. It's probably never going to be uniform. Well, I just ran out of card space then, so we're busy recording on another card. Now here I've got the frame meter needle window. Now it's got the remains of the old adhesive on here. You can see that brown stuff. Don't be tempted to try and clean that off. The only thing that's likely to clean off glue is solvent. And you can imagine what solvent will do to the plastic. If it was a glass window it would be a different story, but it's not. It's only plastic. So I'm just cleaning the window itself with a bit of glass cleaner, which won't kill the plastic. It is quite dirty. Judging by the coloration of that, that would be grease, the sticky grease from that frame counter. Okay, well I've got that nice and clean now. Now I'm not going to put adhesive under it. I'm going to push it into place and then I'm going to put a bit of adhesive at each end of it, a blob which will seal it down quite nicely. Let's get a couple of toothpicks here so I can manipulate this piece of plastic into place without adding fingerprints that I'm then going to have to clean away. Okay, that's pressed down into place. That's nice and neat. The window looks nice and clean. I'm just going to apply a blob of adhesive here and the same on the other side. And when putting your glue in, remember glue is likely to form nice big strings as you pull the toothpick away. So make sure you don't pull the toothpick away over the top of the window that you're trying to glue in there, otherwise there's nothing surer than you will end up with a string of glue across the window which you're then going to have to deal with. The solvent in the adhesive is very likely to actually melt into the plastic, so you do not want to be in that situation. See, I've got strings of adhesive here hanging off that toothpick. Let's see if I can lay that in there. That's good. I've got a good bit of glue in there. It's right on the edge. It doesn't protrude over the visible part of the window. I haven't got any threads of glue going over the plastic. I want to achieve the same thing on this other side now, which may or may not be achievable. Oh, I'm pushing my luck there. Alright, I've got that in place. I've managed to get the glue on there without getting any on the window, and I'll leave that to set up for a few minutes before I fit that top cover in place. I've got a couple of tasks I'll need to achieve yet. The first is that I'll need to be sure that the focus at the focus screen and the focus at the film plane are the same. Now I'm quite confident of my distance of film mount, lens mount to film plane, because I measured that quite carefully. So I'm quite confident that that's correct, but it doesn't tell me whether the lens was correctly focused to the body, and it certainly doesn't tell me anything about the focus of the image through the reflex mirror to the screen, and that could be anywhere because we shifted that post early in the piece when I had to take the control arms out for the mirror and capping plate. So very likely the lens is correctly focused to the body, but I've got no idea what the position of the mirror is like, and that's what I'll be adjusting later. So I will check the lens against the body with a ground glass screen and a loupe, and report back, and by that stage we can probably close up the top of the camera. Well, the focus of the lens at the film plane was absolutely spot on. Nothing wrong there at all. That's completely correct. So the top cover can go on, I think. Make sure I've got everything here that I need. Where's my tiny spring? There it is. And the button and the spring, 2 chrome screws, one's already holding the top cover on, of course, that, and after that the rewind knob probably. Okay. I will just wipe the top of the meter window there, a glass cleaner. All that meter wants to jump up out of place. I could just tell. A spring. The meter setting button. The top cover. And I think that shutter release button just rotated then and jammed up, did it? Flaming did. That's better. I'll get our pinhead screw, run back down. Let's just snug that up very lightly, it doesn't need much. A chrome screw at the end of the top cover. Two chrome screws at the rewind end of the top cover. And the rewind knob itself, what have we got here? We have that little spacer that goes on there. And the rewind knob, let's just check that the film reminder dial turns. It does, so we don't need to do anything with that. That can go on. Just spin that in, up. That's it. So the camera's closed up from the top now. I've got to adjust the image focus on the focus screen, which is done by shifting the position of the post here, which has the effect of allowing the mirror to swing further out or back into the body. And when that distance of the light path through the mirror and up to the screen matches the distance from the lens to the film plane, then that's all correct. We already know the lens focuses correctly at the film plane, so when it focuses correctly in the finder, they'll match. Easy. That's the theory anyway.